How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another...
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, this is Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, and this is number 100.
I've done this for 100 episodes.
Yeah, you have. Okay, yes, this is number 100, and we're doing a pretty good one. This one is going to be Captain Triumph.
Completely ridiculous powers.
The powers are a little ridiculous.
Have you checked your subscriber count?
Yeah, I do know that we've reached, actually, it's a little over 500 now.
You know that's a milestone number.
I honestly didn't think that we'd be at 500 by this point. So I have absolutely no idea what to do for 500 subscribers. I know it's a milestone. I really don't have an idea, and I am open to suggestions if the subscribers would like to see me cover something in particular for 500. I'd be more than happy to. I can certainly come up with something, but I didn't realize I'd be at this point right now, so I don't have a plan for it. But I can come up with something. The reason that we both take issue with Captain Triumph is his powers. I mean, he's given the powers, but the powers aren't explained. It's kind of weird. Now, full disclosure, I covered the first appearance before I did the review. I usually do it the other way around. I'll do the review and then I'll cover the first appearance. I did the first appearance first to this one, so there are a couple of things that there's a couple of questions that I'm asking in the review, or in the first cover, that I actually answer in the review. This one, it's a strange one. He's a dual identity superhero, which means it takes two of them to become the hero. One is living and one is dead. I go into a pretty good explanation of this. There are a lot of questions that I don't have answers to because they never elaborated on it. I think this character was also used in DC briefly, and he was more villainous than he was in the Golden Age, where he was more heroic. But let's go ahead and cover Captain Triumph. As unexplicable as the powers are, I actually think that the stories were pretty well constructed. And as the issues continued, the stories actually got longer because that's how popular this character was. And Quality had some pretty popular characters. So let's go into Captain Triumph. And like I said, if you have a suggestion for 500, give me an idea. I like taking requests. I haven't had one for a little while. I do enjoy doing them. Let's get this one started. Captain Triumph. Captain Triumph is a combination of Michael and Lance Gallant. They first appeared in Crack Comics number 27 in 1943. The publisher is Quality, and he was created by Alfred Andriola. Now, this is an unusual combination. I said there was a combination of Michael and Lance Gallant because it's really weird to establish how these two were created. Lance Gallant is alive while his brother Michael is dead and a ghost. And when he touches a birthmark, they become combined to become Captain Triumph. I have no explanation for how he gains the powers when combining, and they don't offer an explanation in the comic books. It just accepted as fact that it happens. He tells his brother, as a ghost, hey, just touch your birthmark and we'll become one person. Now, his powers are... he can fly, he can turn invisible, he's got a high measure of durability. Now, in some of the research, it says super strength, but I haven't seen him do anything superhuman, but he does have enhanced strength. So I'm not going to go with superhuman strength, but I am going to go with enhanced strength and the flight, invulnerability, invisibility. And it says endurance, and we'll go with a measure of endurance. Now, it's interesting. Michael dies in the very first issue, and then he comes to his brother and says, hey, touch the birthmark and we'll become one. And he does it right after he dies. And I'm like, how do you know these powers so quickly? And you'll see how I say this when we go over it. Now, by issue 30, which is a few issues after he appears, he gets a sidekick named Biff. And I love the cover that he gets introduced in, because it looks just like the introduction of Robin in the Batman comics, which isn't the first time that somebody would spoof the opening for that. Now, Biff is a clown at first, because that was his gig, and then later Captain Triumph Lance reveals who he is, and he becomes the sidekick. He calls himself an assistant, but he becomes the sidekick. And he does what normal sidekicks do. He acts as a foil. He is someone there to relay information that we see going on to inform us what's happening. And he occasionally fights, and he gets captured, so he needs to be rescued by Captain Triumph. Also, Michael has a fiance, Kim Meredith, who is getting captured, and one issue she actually gets beaten up, which was really unusual to see the girl getting beaten up in comic books who is related to the hero. I mean the bad women, or the who aren't part of the antagonists' entourage, they don't get beaten up. So it was really weird to see that she got beaten up, because that just doesn't happen. But she also gets captured and needs to be rescued by Captain Triumph. Now, Captain Triumph, when Lance and Michael merge together, no matter what Lance happens to be wearing, he turns into this costume where he has the red shirt, the white pants with the black belt, and the boots. And it's a red short tee. And that is the outfit. The pants are kind of baggy. Are like puffed out around the leg areas. I don't quite know how to explain it. I think they said that in the explanation, they said his pants were flared out or something like that. I don't know. Now, something really interesting about this is Captain Triumph's tenure did last a lot longer than other heroes did. He was still putting out comics in 1949, which a lot of heroes had stopped before then. Now, Quality always had some good heroes, but not even their other heroes were going as long as 1949. What happened is, when crack comics were coming out, just after the war started, about a year after Captain Triumph, let's see, in the 1940s, and World War II began, due to wartime paper shortages, crack comics went into bi-monthly publications. They were doing monthly, and then they had to shorten it to bi-monthly. And then, with the paper shortages not getting any better, they actually switched to doing quarterly, so they were only putting out issues 4 times a year. Now, back when the paper shortages stopped and they started doing better again, a lot of anthology comics, like Crack Comics, started picking up to monthly. But Crack Comics went back to only bi-monthly, and they were putting out comic books based on the odd number a month, 1, 3, 5, and so on. And because they weren't putting out issues every month, they only were able to get the 62, but they did stay printing out comic books longer than most people, which I thought was an interesting fact. Now, here's a really interesting one. In issue number 53, the story involves Michael in a way, and they go to Michael's grave at the beginning of the issue, and they show him being exhumed. And on his gravestone, it says that he was born from 1917 to 1945. But the strange thing about that is Michael and his brother, who were identical twins, were born in 1919. So somebody missed a real crucial detail when it was 1917. And one of the interesting things is Captain Triumph started printing in 1943. So he didn't live until 1945. So now I think the story actually did come out in 1945, but he died at the beginning of issue 27, which was 1943. So it should have been 1919 to 1943. So they missed a major continuity error there. Now they said that Captain Triumph didn't have any arch enemies, but he did have to fight a number of people. Now, he didn't fight any Nazis directly. It was 1943. There wasn't any Nazis to fight at that time. Now, he mostly fought crooks or people who were trying to get money with less than legal means. Crooks. It was gangsters and crooks, and a couple of schemes that were set up by Nazis, but they weren't really Nazi-involved stories. Now, I don't know what Lance did for money. When I was first reading this, I thought Lance was an investigative journalist because his skills to track things down were impressive. But I don't think that's what he did. I don't know what he did for money, but I mean, he had a house. He was able to support himself, Kim, and Biff. I have no idea what he did for money. But he was pretty good at investigating things, and his brother, who was a ghost that only he could see, and I think at one time Kim might have been able to see him as well. I know he showed who he was to Kim and to Biff, but a couple of times his brother helped him get to the locations that he needed to. Oh, and this line right here, I'm not going to rate it, but this is one of the greatest lines I've seen a superhero say. Oh, I read that and I was like, whoa, okay, that's definitely something you can't say today. I'm not even sure you were supposed to say it back then. There is context to what he said, but you're not supposed to say it that way. Okay, so I think I've gone over pretty much how the stories, who he is, and how this all plays out. So we're going to go ahead and cover the very first appearance of Michael, Lance, and Kim. And then you can see Captain Triumph, and maybe you could piece together a little bit better than I can about how these powers are supposed to work to begin with. I know the suspension of disbelief, but the way that this works is stretching it to such a point. I think that you broke the suspension of disbelief at this point. So let's go ahead and we will cover Captain Triumph, and you can see why I found this. I actually found the stories pretty interesting. even if I found the powers stretching the suspension of disbelief so far that I believe it broke. So let's go ahead and cover Captain Triumph. Another thing that I did forget to mention, Lance did get knocked out on occasion because he's not Captain Triumph. But it was usually just to further the plot along, because most of the cases they either stumbled into or they got brought into because of Lance's investigation skills. No romantic chemistry seemed to happen between Kim and Lance because she was with Michael, not with Lance. And here's something interesting. In the first couple of issues, when he transformed into Captain Triumph, there was like this crashing sound and a lightning bolt. But as the series went on, they did away with that, and then the transformation just seemed to happen seamlessly without any indication that he was changing. Oh, and one more thing. Captain Triumph, as I said, he first appeared in Crack Comics number 27. He was on every cover issue when he appeared from 27 to 62. He was every cover appearance, and he was the featured story in every one of his appearances from 27 to 62. So he owned all the covers and the featured stories. And let's get into this. In the year 1919, there was born to a middle-class family in New York City 2 sons, Lance and Michael Gallant. So identical were they, even to birthmarks on their left wrists, that their own mother could never tell them apart. They grew from boyhood to manhood. The world became their playground, danger their business. Michael joined the U.S. Air Corps, and Lance crusaded with his own weapons, the word and pen. And as they grew, the bonds of love and companionship that existed between them became stronger than any bond of steel or cable of strength that man could manufacture. So close were they that their work, their play, and their exciting adventures that filled their lives, their bodies responded to but one mind. Then, one day in the early fall, a strange and fantastic thing happened that made these 2 men one, Captain Triumph. I like the opening page where they showed how identical these 2 were, and then, like, right there, the one in a suit and uniform, and then, Captain Triumph looked exactly like them. Okay. We come to the opening here, outside the gates of Acme Aircraft Corporation. Acme. Lance Gallant and Kim Meredith watched a new Army pursuit plane sweep on the field. Actually, the Air Force does come out of the Army, so it does make sense that the Air Corps is part of the Army at first. Yeah, okay. Michael's landing now. I hope he hurries. I planned a bang-up birthday party for you two. And then they just start asking, and she's like, how many times has he proposed? Oh, I've been keeping count. Once he reaches 1,000, I'll accept that. You want to be proposed to 1,000 times before you say yes? I don't know how I'd feel if I had to ask like more than 10 times, I'd feel that she was completely uninterested. Okay, so they start talking about Michael, and as they're viewing the hangar, and then the hangar suddenly blows up. Lance, that hangar's where Michael just went in. And of course, Lance runs in because, they stated how their bond is. Did my brother get out? Have you seen Michael? Gallant, he is helping some of the others. So he rushes in there, and he finds his brother lying on the floor. Hi, you lug, better save your own neck. You're lying on the ground half conscious. That's okay. So Lance carries Michael out. And these pages I found kind of funny. They got me, Lance. Imagine. And on our birthday, Kim had probably planned a swell celebration too, as she always did. This is an odd thing for you to say while dying. Don't try to talk. I haven't much time. The old ticker's giving out. Oh, good Lord. Look after Kim for me. I never got around to it. So long, you lug. Up and Adam. Yes. Up and Adam is a phrase that is used quite often in the first couple of appearances. He actually does say up and Adam. Michael, no. And then he gives off this great little speech right here. Michael Gallant was my brother. I swear there's no risk I wouldn't take. Nothing I'd hesitate to do. I'd sacrifice anyone's life, my own included, to wipe from the face of the earth the evil that brought about this disaster. And just then, hi, Lance. I heard your speech. I know you meant it. What? His brother's ghost. I mean, he just died. How does he suddenly have... He just now died. How does he suddenly know how to come back like this? Michael, no, it can't be. Yes, Lance. And look at it. You can see and hear me, but I do not exist in the eyes and ears of other humans. This is the spirit you see. How do you know that? You just died. How do you know that he's the only one who can see you? And he says, well, you're dead. And he goes, Lance, I want you to do what you said. Pretty speech. Fight the forces of evil. Devote your life to it. And he's like, and this whole page is completely inexplicable. You've been dead all but 30 seconds. How do you know? How do you have the ability to come back? How do you know that your brother is going to possess powers? Like, how are you going to help me? We were twins until I was killed a few minutes ago. Technically, you're still twins. You're just dead. But the spirit of Michael Gallant still lives. Why are you talking about yourself in third person? And his powers shall be part of your life. I can make you invisible. You shall fly through space within seconds. Nothing physical will harm you. How do you know this? This is a weird dream. How can any human have the ability to become a ghost at will? All you need to do is rub the birthmark. Whenever you do, I will enter your body and you will become Captain Triumph. You just said you've been dead only a few minutes. How do you know all this will happen? How do you have this kind of knowledge? You just died. If it had been like maybe the next day or a few weeks, this would make more sense. But you just died, and you now suddenly have such control over your ghost body in a way that it seems like you have been doing this for years. How did you do this in minutes? Okay, he rubs the birthmark. With a roar and thunder where Lance and Michael's spirit were, there now stood Captain Triumph. And to his credit, yeah, he does have all these powers. Okay. So he turns back into Lance so he can talk to Michael some more. Yeah. I'm going to turn back and I need to have more of a discussion with the ghost. Right. I'm your own private ghost, Lance. Watch. Huh. I could have sworn someone tapped my shoulder. That's amazing. It can't be true. It will clear up when you've had time to think. That right there, when you've had time to think. He needs to have time to think about what's going on. How did you have time to make any of this happen? How did you know all of this was going to happen? Okay, he tells him that the explosion wasn't an accident. And anytime he needs him to just rub the birthmark and he'll become Captain Triumph. Okay, just then, Kim rushes up and she's cradling Michael in her arms. and Lance is distracted by a crowd chasing an old man. Right then, Lance chooses to abandon Kim and his brother and become Captain Triumphant. Okay, so he goes over and he rescues the man that is being chased, and it apparently is an old man. And they say that he is the bomber, and he says that he has been framed. So Captain Triumph steps in, beats up some of the attackers, and whisks off with the old man. I love this. Blub blub, I don't know how you're doing this, young fella, but this is fun. Thanks for sticking up for me. I believe you, Pops. I've known you many years. You wouldn't murder anybody. I mean, when you become Captain Triumph, are you Lance, are you Michael, or are you an amalgamation of both of them? It never really did state. I guess being the amalgamation of both of them, both being Lance and Michael at the same time, but they never really did go into great details about that. So he pops off at the police station so he can get protection, and he mentions that there's a new person that joined the hangar crew named Otto Ratter. Ratter? Yeah, he's a funny duck. So he launches back into Lance again, who does the he does like journalism, so he's really good at tracking people down. So he gets the lens of the flashlight so he can act like... I guess he thinks that putting a flashlight, the lens in his eye, makes him look like a German. Anyways, he finds Otto. A nice job you did at the aircraft factory, Rattler. The Fuhrer will be pleased. Who are you? And he's like, you ain't Bragg. Baron Brom Bragg. I've been waiting. Where's my dough? He doesn't know what the Baron looks like, but he also says, you're not the Baron. And I am not keen on the Baron being called Bragg. Bragg. I was stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, which it's not called Fort Bragg anymore. I think they changed it to Fort Freedom, and I'm very displeased about how we've changed the name of Fort Bragg. Anyways, I don't like the fact that this guy, who works for the Nazis is named Bragg. I don't even think that's a German name. A royal war of thunder, and suddenly lightning pierces the room, and like magic, no, the name is not Bragg, it's Captain Triumph. Wait a minute. Does thunder and lightning happen when you become Captain Triumph? I don't think it happened earlier, or not each time. Actually, I've read a lot of the issues of Captain Triumph. I don't remember a crack of thunder every time he changed. Hey, what's coming off? Where's the other guy? So Captain Triumph confronts him, and he pulls out a gun and he shoots at him. Tell a better story than that, Ratter. It says, but even the bullets do not even touch Captain Triumph as he steps forward and lands one punch. And in the first couple of issues, when he got shot at, the bullets wouldn't touch him, which didn't make a lick of sense at all. But then in later issues, it actually shows him being bulletproof, and the bullets bounce off of him. So it seems in the beginning the bullets won't touch him, and then later it becomes bulletproof. So, the consistency in here... Okay, so Captain Triumph locks him out, reads some of the papers, and then as Lance, he decides to portray himself as being Otto Rattler, since the Baron and Otto have never actually seen each other. So he pretends to be Rattler, and the Baron's like, you did a great job with the airport. There's more jobs that we're going to do. And as they're studying a map, the Baron gets called away. And he's like, yes, what is it? And he's like, Head Baron, this man is Otto Rattler. He is the man I hired. The man inside is an imposter, so the one who called him away actually saw who Otto was, but the Baron didn't. So he says that Captain Triumph, or Lance, is not the Otto. So the guards bust in to confront him, and he changes into Captain Triumph again. And this time there is a crash and a lightning bolt. Immediately, Captain Triumph makes himself invisible. Weaklings, idiots, shoot, shoot, shoot. Shoot what? There's no one here. He has escaped. You seem rather blasé about the man who just suddenly isn't there anymore. So Captain Triumph starts beating up the Baron. He punches him. He kicks him in the butt. Pinches his nose. Smacks him in the butt again. Throws him around. Just... oh, who pulled my nose? Let me out of here. Someone is pulling my hair. I'm haunted. I've gone mad. And then, as he makes himself visible again, crash. Rather noisy. So, as he suddenly appears, he gives the Baron a heart attack. He's pulled his last dirty trick in this country, and you too, Rattler. Don't hit me. I'll talk. The plan is sabotage the whole string of defense factories. I'll tell you everything. And then he goes ahead and changes back. Time for you to go back to Lance Gallet, and for me to go back where I came from. So long, you lug. So long, Michael. Thanks for everything. So when the cop showed up, Lance was like, oh, I just happened to stumble upon the situation. I don't know what happened, but hey, this is the saboteur. Lance as his own self now talks to the police. And I'll go ahead and read this last page. And so, with Rattler and his accomplice safely in jail, the newspapers sure are playing up this Captain Triumph, Kim. He's the man of the hour. And you seem to be the man of the moment. Who is this woman staring at you? She looks so sinister. She gives me the creeps. This actually goes absolutely nowhere. Hi, folks. If you think things are happening fast and furious to Captain Triumph this time, wait until next month when I tackle with the sinister Cairo and the magic sword, a weapon so powerful it could blow New York City off the map in the next few minutes. That is not what happens in the next issue. In the next issue, he actually deals with the lady who got a hold of a gun that can sever things in half by being shot. So, I don't know why they come up with this magical sword. It does not happen. And at the very bottom here it says, another smashing adventure of Captain Triumph in the next issue of Crack Comics. I hope you liked this video. I hope you learned something new about it. I got a different camera angle. Someone had suggested something about it, and I had been playing around with changing it. I think I kind of like this view better. You can see my Transformers hanging on the wall over here, which weren't visible before. Optimus Prime, Megatron, Bumblebee, and Shockwave. The classics. Okay, so I hope you liked this video. I hope you liked Captain Triumph. This was definitely an interesting one. At current recording, I am at 504. I'd like to thank everybody who subscribes to this channel, watches the channel, and gives likes to my video. I think it's awesome. So, if you do have a suggestion for the 500, I can come up with something, but I honestly, I don't have a clue. I didn't know I'd be here at this time. So, until next time, I'll be seeing you.